And if you're not hearing this, then you won't hear this. And so we don't have to find out. And Ben, let me know when you want me to restart the show.
Yeah, let me...
Oh, listen to this. Jennifer was talking about this. The chair squeaks too much. You hear that?
It's a squeaky chair. Annoying.
Yep, squeaky chair for the podcast. It's fun because normally, like if this had been even 5 years ago, I would have been freaked out. I'd been like, oh no. But now, after the events of the past 4 years, I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, that makes sense. That makes sense that there's just people who come in and hate people for no reason.
I wasn't even looking at the YouTube comments. Normally I keep it pretty live, but I should have figured out something was wrong when we started getting a lot of viewers and a lot of comments.
How many viewers did we get?
At 1.10, which, I mean, if you know the show, that's a lot for us.
For us, that's a lot. Yeah, for sure. Maybe it's one of those things where a live has ended, and then they go, well, let's go to this thing, and they all follow each other.
Yeah.
That sounds probably right.
Probably some sort of, like, Discord server where they put the link in.
Oh, yeah. Oh, how many viewers do we have right now?
1.
Have we started the new one?
Yeah, the new stream has started.
Okay.
So,
do I go back to my Twitter channel and say, hey, we've started a new thing? Probably not.
I think we've
probably
discovered...
The friends of mine that go to it are few and far between, so I don't think I'm going to get us any extra viewers.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't have a moderator that works for us. It's just you, basically. So you're doing the show and moderating at the same time, which makes it very difficult. Speaking of which, GudeLaurance!
Paul Goody!
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. I want to apologize on the outset for my squeaky chair. This is something that Jennifer mentioned. Now, Jennifer, as you know, is doing audiobooks.
Yes.
And so she has been having problems with how squeaky the chair is. And we had a conversation today about how she said, yeah, I'm going to have to oil that chair or tighten everything up or something. And I was like, gotcha. And she was upset with me because I said, gotcha.
And I'll take care of it myself, don't worry.
Well, not even that, but close, sort of. Other times she'll say something and I'll say, okay. And she'll like, okay, what does that mean? And we investigated it a little bit more. And what it is that what I have said is very neutral. Like I could have just not said anything at all. It's as good as me not saying anything. I'm going to go and oil the chair or tighten it up. No response. I'm going to go oil the chair, tighten it up. Gotcha. I have not contributed anything to the conversation. I've just made an utterance,
right?
Indicating that if anything, indicating that I've heard her. I have heard what she has said, and that's all that I'm willing to acknowledge. Obviously, yes. Oh, I'll take care of that. Would be better. It's funny. I still suffer from this. Me going, I have no idea how to oil a chair or tighten a chair up. I don't know how to do it. There are so many things that we as human beings don't know how to do until we attempt it. And then all of a sudden we know how to do it. And I think that's important.
Yeah, I'm running into that right now where I've been asked to do an animation of a character jogging. And I don't do character animation. And so I get to learn how to do it. But once I learn how to do it, I will have done it. And it will be done.
Are you already looking at how to do it? Like, have you watched YouTubes on character walking or anything?
Yeah, I have this script called Duik Basil 2, second version. And so the hard part is actually getting the people who want me to do this, who actually give me the artwork, to set up their Illustrator files in such a way as to make the character rigging easier. So more than half the time is spent modifying the Illustrator files.
Wow. Because I have a book on like cell character anime and walk cycles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where they give you kind of basically what it is it's a book, and they say for frame one do this, for frame two do this, for frame three do
Right.
this,
Right.
and then do you have something that uses onion skinning at all? Onion
No.
skinning
I know what
is
onion skinning is, but no. It's just I do it all in After Effects. So
yeah, it just lets you draw in between the frames so that
yeah.
you can. And then there are other things, and I'm sure you've seen this before. When computers started doing frames in between frames to make them look smooth, you can take single frames and they look insane. Like the face is all mashed up and things are all smeared around and stuff. But when you see it moving, it looks good. As opposed to
Yeah.
traditional cell animation, maybe doesn't look as good. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. It's,
Um,
I can't say that I've been enjoying this process though.
Oh no, I can imagine a lot of frustration. It's
Yeah.
tedious, but the good thing about this is that you're not hand drawing it all.
No.
Hand drawing it all is more difficult.
And
Obviously.
I hope that I would have more time to do this than what they've given me.
Yeah. So I wanted to mention, if I haven't mentioned this already, it's possible that I've mentioned this, but we'll see. That I was going to buy me a little snack, snacky snack for the podcast. So I bought cotton candy, and the problem is that it's Old Vienna cotton candy, by the way. And as you can see, Old Vienna cotton candy has a picture of St. Louis on it. You know. But the thing that I forgot about, because I was like, oh yeah, it doesn't make any crunch sound. It melts in your mouth. There's no problem. But there's this.
Listen to that.
There's
bag.
this, Ben. Yeah, so it's not great. And I'm thinking more and more about how little we edit the podcast.
Yeah.
And my guess is that is going to be the first time that anyone has heard my funny cotton candy joke. But there's a possibility that Ben has actually heard it once before. We do not rehearse, but occasionally something may happen where we have to start over. And you people at home don't know that we've started over, but when it does happen, it's kind of funny for us because we have to be like, okay, we're going to be natural, off the cuff like this normally goes, except that Paul has found something that maybe isn't even funny, but that he thinks is funny, and he's going to do it again like it's the first time that he did it, and Ben is going to have to sit there and watch him do it.
You know, I've done theater before. I've done films before. I know what it's like. But I can play along.
There's a convention there, right? Like people who watch a film or have even a play, they know that there's been rehearsing. They know that the people who are doing this, it's contrived. They do it every night, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
A podcast, it's kind of more like when you're doing reality television, even though you have a microphone, which means that there had to be some discussion ahead of time about what you're doing, especially if you're wearing a lavalier. There's actually a person who puts it on you and all that, and they tell you where to sit and how to do this. You still try to make it look natural. And I've mentioned this before, or have I, that a lot of work goes into making something look spontaneous.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing. Improv, when you are, and this is the thing, people have a hard time believing it, but improv, when you do it just off the top of your head and you're just riffing and stuff, it looks oftentimes to a non-improv trained person, it looks like you're doing a script.
Yeah.
It looks like because most of the people who do improv, I'm generalizing here, but most of them are kind of writers and actors together. They're writing the thing that they're doing while they're doing it. So like you and I, if we're doing an improv scene, we have gone through theater classes. We know about act structure and rising tension and all that kind of stuff. And we put that into our performances kind of naturally. Like we know this is sort of how the scene should go and all that. Whereas someone who is just watching us do it may not have that sort of innate sense about how a story is told. And so if we hit those beats that they're used to, they think that it's people sit down and have written it, when in fact that is not the case.
Yeah, I've seen some great improv over the years. I've seen some bad improv too, but the really great stuff was just amazing that there was no constructed story beforehand. Now
Exactly.
I know improvisers rehearse and all that, and so there may be beats that they know they need to hit at certain points, but as
Right.
far
Yeah, sure.
I saw this Shakespearean improv once, and it just blew me away how good it was.
Yeah. My friend Matt Young, who is Usador and Hello from the Magic Tavern, a podcast which, by the way, I have not listened to in way too long, and I apologize to them if they're listening, which they aren't. That I haven't listened to their podcast in a while. But yeah, he was part of that group. And they're great. They really know what they're doing. They know the language. They know how to say things in the same cadence and everything.
Yeah.
So it's really good. I'm going to cough again. One moment.
No, mute your microphone.
We're keeping it in.
Dang it.
But conversely, what I was going to say is that when you are doing live stuff, like actual live stuff for your general reality TV show, where you're just a person with a microphone on, and you're in a situation, the fact that you have a camera on you, the fact that you are mic'd up and everything like that will make you behave unnaturally.
Yeah, I can believe that.
So they have to tell you a little bit about how to appear natural, which seems counterintuitive.
Is that your experience?
People, my experience would be that people do not know that you need to be coached in order to appear natural.
Well, it's also, I mean, you can just see this at like weddings or parties where somebody has a video camera. People don't naturally act natural when they know they're being filmed.
They don't naturally ignore a camera.
Yeah.
In a real situation, they acknowledge the camera and maybe even play to it. Whereas you're told whenever you're doing reality show, and spoilers for reality show stuff, to pretend like the camera isn't there.
Yeah.
That's the main thing. You don't look at it. You don't. And just that one little bit of instruction will do two things. One, it will make you appear more natural usually. And then two, it will also, however, put you outside of the natural reaction that people would have if there was a camera there. So it's kind of interesting for sure. One of the things I'm going to have to ask you, Ben, we are at a different time code on my stuff is when I started recording. How far are we in the podcast right now?
I think we restarted at about 20 after. So we're 11 minutes in.
Wow. Okay.
Feels
okay,
so
good.
much longer though, doesn't it?
It does feel a lot longer. So we are great, and I like you. This is a good time that we're having.
Yeah, I just had to go back, and I know we may not be acknowledging, what has happened, but I had to go back and just confirm that everything's been taken care of.
Has everything been taken care of?
Most everything has been taken care of. The previous show link, if you're just joining us, or if you are a friend, the previous show link we sent out no longer works.
Yeah,
And
well,
but of
let's
course, if
talk.
you're hearing me say that, then you found the new one.
I think that we should talk about it. I think that enough time has passed that we can talk about it.
All
So
right.
Ben and I make a lot of jokes about how nobody ever watches this. This is
Yeah.
a podcast that we make for no one. It's just him and me
Ourselves.
talking.
Yeah.
And I've often speculated, hey, what would it be like if onto the podcast, and what would happen if actual people came onto the podcast? Is that almost immediately anti-Semitism?
Yes.
That's what
I
would happen.
don't know how it happened. We got a call, which is how we figured out this started. We got a call from an unknown number. We
Who, by
answered.
the way, the person was acting a little weird
Yeah.
in general.
Yeah. I did not recognize the voice. I thought maybe it might have been one of our friends who was just playing with us. However,
That's the problem with having friends that like to joke around.
exactly. However, after a couple of moments of you very graciously trying to engage the guest, I took a
I
peek
thought
over.
I was doing a pretty
You were
good
doing
job.
a great job. You were actually getting him to open up. But I took a peek over at our YouTube comments, and boy, howdy, did I not like what I saw.
Yeah, and just for the people at home, I did not look at the YouTube comments. I do not have the YouTube comments. All that I see is a big picture of Ben and a small picture of me.
Yeah.
And Ben graciously sanitized the comments for me. He told me a little bit about what he was seeing, but he did not read them to me verbatim. Although there was at least
Yeah,
sorry,
a lot of it didn't even make sense to me. So there was obviously the anti-Semitism prevalent throughout. And
a
the
request
comments,
for me to kill myself, I believe, was another one.
yes,
Or both of us. I mean,
Or
come
both
on,
of us.
Ben. I don't want to
There-
exclude you.
there
from
was. Oh, thank you, Paul. It's nice to be part of part of the fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but the comments were coming really quick, and there was a lot of language being thrown around that I'd never heard of before. I thought maybe that there was a community. I don't want to say of gamers because that's giving gamers a bad name. A community of people who like to find random live videos on YouTube and dox them. Just
Yes.
for whatever reason, just find and they seemed to know each other because the person we were talking to was getting flamed. Is that the word on the comments?
Like were they making fun of him, or were they giving him fire?
They were making fun of him.
Oh,
So
that's too bad.
Even in your own group of anti-Semites, you still can't please everybody.
That seems too bad. I guess just because he was talking. I mean, here's the thing: if I were a group of people that wanted to hate watch a YouTube live stream, and one of the group of people that I was associated with called them and actually started talking to them, I would be like, haha, I can't believe he's doing this.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. I would think it'd be fun.
So during so as Paul was engaging, I took a look at the comments and I made the decision to stop what we were doing and start over.
It took me a second to know, but Ben did a very good job. He said, Paul, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this, and then you and I are going to have a conversation, and then we're going to start the podcast over again.
Yeah.
Which was great. This is Ben Lawrence, ladies and gentlemen, is not only a host on this podcast, but also the moderator and the engineer. So
yeah, which is why if you're
lion's
watching,
share of work.
I'm often looking at many different screens at once.
That's right.
I'm gonna have to go through and make sure that they didn't find another one of our videos and put all that crap on it. But we got a voicemail to the show, the show number.
Was it from the group? Are you gonna read it? What's happening?
Not from the same number, from the group.
Okay.
And it's transcribed, and the transcription doesn't catch everything. So I don't know what the first sentence really means. So blankety blank is a blank. Everyone on IP2 is an idiot. I don't know what IP is.
Okay, so here's what I can say is that the person that called us and was talking to us said that they were part of that their job was to stream on IP2.
IP2.
So it's possible that person, it's possible that person was engaging in good. I hate to say this, but maybe they were engaging in good faith, and the other people who were flaming him were a rival. Like maybe what we're seeing, Ben, is an actual turf war between these two groups of people as to who is allowed to engage with us. And so I don't want to, the person that called us, obviously we're not going to post any of the audio, but I do want to say, just for the record, although they sounded out of it, they did not engage in, and there was no name calling, there was nothing. And I'm assuming his gender, but he seemed to be willing to engage and talk, did not say anything mean to me or untoward. All of the stuff that we're terming anti-Semitism happened in the comments, not in any of the dialogue that I had with him. And I just want to make that clear.
That is true.
In case for some reason he finds the podcast and listens to it and wonders why he wasn't on it. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's worth a.
The voicemail goes on to say, "I'm going to dox them all and send the SWAT team to all their choices." I'm wondering if "to all their choices" is really what he said.
Yeah,
they should all start using VPNs on this website. I can't wait to find one of them, beat the S out of them in the middle of the street by. So, a pleasant interaction.
Well, and it's interesting to me, the idea, like how surprising it would be for me to have that happen. There isn't a lot of, just for fun, I'm going to check I normally don't use the internet on this, but I am going to just check my, my Twitter account. And
maybe this is all your fault. People came from your Twitter.
No, so far, no engagement whatsoever on Twitter. Let's just see on my TikTok.
Yeah, well, I mean, the person mentioned that they just went to YouTube Live and just found like the next one.
Yeah, and let me check my YouTube, which I haven't done in a while.
Doesn't look like any of the other videos.
Important for me to remember that at one point in time, I did actually I did a YouTube thing on my LOL work stuff. I was host of a clip show, and there honestly this guy is a Jew and he should kill himself, and I can't wait to beat him up, was something that I was told there as well.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's the same people, but it's the same exact statement, which is interesting. Maybe it's just the default state of YouTube in general.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I want to say YouTube is a garbage website, but I go to it way too often.
I'm going to go ahead and edit my channel, and I'm going to...
also, according to YouTube, nobody's watching right now, which is kind of a relief, honestly.
Yeah, it really is. I'm going to do my channel settings here really quick. Name, Paul Goody, add description, privacy. How do I turn this off in general? Well, actually, you don't link to my YouTube page from our page anyway.
No.
Right? Yeah.
Correct.
So I'm fine. You're the one that's going to get doxxed, Ben.
Well, it's not connected to my personal YouTube either. This is the show's YouTube channel.
Oh no, we refer to ourselves by name though all the time. Oh no. We're not interesting enough. That's my hope. Really, honestly, Ben.
Why would somebody bother?
Right. Oh my God, if only... Oh no, Ben. Dr. Bauer is in danger. Oh. Well, I hope that doesn't happen again. That'd be nice if it didn't happen anymore at all. And this is something, it gives a great opportunity to talk about this.
Whew.
Someone says, well, if you don't want this to happen, don't have a podcast. And it's like,
Right.
that really doesn't track. I mean, one should be able to have a podcast without having that happen. Having the podcast isn't what brings that in. See also women in general,
Right.
having to deal with that. Well, you shouldn't have gone outside then, or whatever. It's
it's not just having the podcast. It's also like live streaming it while we're doing it, and you're the potential audience is greater because people can't just randomly click on your video if they just find some random live video and then send a link to their Discord server of anti-Semitism and have at it.
And if they were using their suggestion, obviously it's a nice suggestion that we should use a VPN. But does that mean that wherever they're at, that they're going to show up to Annex? I mean, honestly, now here's something though. Given Steven's general, savviness when it comes to this kind of stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if the theater doesn't have a VPN set up.
I would be surprised if you could find an IP address from a YouTube live link, right?
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure. I mean, again, it's possible. I don't know. I'm not a hacker. I don't know that. But why would that be information that you could see?
I have a similar question. Carrot Top, right? Just as a random thing. Let's say Carrot Top.
Okay.
I'm not saying that you and I are in Carrot Top's league at all. But let's say Carrot Top was doing a YouTube live.
Yeah.
I'm going to find Carrot Top and beat him up in the street. Would probably be something that Carrot Top would receive from at least one person.
Right.
Right? So this is more about the people than about us. There's nothing about us specifically that makes people want to beat us up. I would
hope not.
Yeah. The term too goofy to hate was used to describe us. I'm just gonna respond to.
I still use it to describe us.
It's a good pull quote. I really do enjoy it.
I think I think I'm gonna put that back into the description of these live shows instead of the phone number.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And I would say, wow, that was fast. I had to pull the stream due to death threat.
So, for the last...
Would you say death threat?
Or not a credible one. I mean, somebody threatened to beat us up. But... they're...
a less than credible...
just standard YouTube comment hatred.
Credible threat of physical violence.
It's for the last 5-6 years or so of doing the show, we were like, oh yeah, we want audience interaction, and then when we finally get it, we figure out we don't like it.
First true case of audience interaction.
Are you typing this into Twitter?
Interaction, yep. Was not good. I do not like it. I do not like it! Exclamation point.
Yeah, it's I
just don't want to. I think we do fine without audience interaction. Honestly.
Yeah.
What did you say, Ben? I apologize.
I don't have the energy to deal with all of that. I mean, even if we were a big media empire, I would want to have somebody on staff whose job it was to delete all the hatred from the YouTube comment section.
I have to think that is actually something that's going on. I have to think that there are people that are employed to do exactly that for larger streaming organizations. It has to happen.
Yeah. I mean, there's on YouTube comments on the back end here, I can report users. So I could have gone through and just reported everybody and like maybe tried to remove them. But yeah, it was just easier to nuke it and start over.
Yeah. If you're ever bored, can you go back into it and report the people or not?
No,
because it's gone.
It's gone. Gone forever.
Yeah.
YouTube
and
actually
I think
makes
that's better anyway.
YouTube makes you check a box saying you understand this is permanent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the best thing. And you know what? Maybe they are happy. Maybe they have a little gleeful, haha, we killed the stream, which is fine. Good for them.
And ultimately, what battle was won there?
Well, yeah, exactly. Well,
a stream
here's
nobody was watching to begin with.
If their goal was to drive us off YouTube Live, they did that. Didn't hurt us any. Kind of a win-win. I mean, we lost, but I think we're okay with losing. I don't know, Ben. Did you ever participate in sports when you were a kid?
Yeah, all the time.
Did your team do well sometimes?
No, never.
Mine also never, and I'm fine with that. Yeah. I am okay. I was not fine at the time because people would make fun of me and I'd feel bad. But now, and of course, Mr. Rogers had a whole thing. I think I've talked to you about this before that I watched when Betty was a child, and I don't remember it being on when I was a kid, this particular one, but it was great. I loved it so much. I've most likely talked about it on the podcast already. I'm going to talk about it again really quick. There's a chef, and the chef goes to a cooking competition, and there's a third, second, and first place, and he doesn't win any of the three. And he just talks about how it was great to see all the other chefs, and he got to talk to a lot of people, and it was really fun. And I love it.
Yeah.
So much. The thing that we are taught, or that I was taught when I was a kid, is that you want to win. You want to win. If you're not winning, why are you even playing?
Winning is everything.
And all that. And yeah, for me, no, I did not win. In fact, in my whole, I've talked about this before, but in my whole grade school basketball career, I have only ever made 2 shots. They were both in the same game, and they were both from the side where where the backboard is, right?
Yeah.
So I was parallel to the backboard. There was no backboard at all, and I shot it, and it went in twice.
Nice.
And yeah, everybody was really impressed. And they said, "Why don't you always do that?" I was like, "I can't always do that. I don't know what happened."
I had one shot like that when I was in junior high, and we were playing basketball during PE, and I was never ever very good, but I made like this under duress, there was like guards all around me, and I shot like might have even been a 3-pointer. I don't think so, but it went in. It probably didn't turn the game. We were probably so far behind anyway, but I made a basket that was hard to make, and people saw, and I felt really cool for like a week after that.
Yeah, see, that's the thing, is that you're like, oh, well, maybe this worked, and no.
Yeah.
No, this is not a big change in my life, but for a while it is. There's a little bit of juice there. It's kind of cool.
Like in high school we played softball once. I'll admit I'm not very good at sports. I like playing baseball though, or softball. And I was in the outfield, and it wasn't. It was football.
Football, like actual American football.
Like American football, but at PE football. So we didn't wear padding or helmets or anything like that. It was just, you throw the ball and you catch it and you try to run or whatever. I think you weren't allowed to tackle. But I couldn't, like, I was trying hard to catch when the ball was being thrown to me. When it did get thrown to me, I was trying really, really hard, and I didn't make any of them. And I remember after class, I was like, getting ready to go back to like regular class in the locker room, and the coach comes in. He's like, "Oh, tough day out there, huh?" And I'm like, I like it. I like that he said that to me. That he like saw that I was putting in the effort, even though it was terrible. I was trying, you know. And he wasn't like mad at me for dropping all those footballs.
I was thinking about martial arts the other day, and about how I got into a whole bunch of trouble. Not trouble, but like people were mad at me when they tried to teach me martial arts because I would always run away from them as they were trying to hit me.
Right.
And eventually I came up with this thing of maybe I need to find a run and hide martial art. Like a martial art for most martial arts, kind of for predators and omnivores, right? Like hey, this person's coming, you're gonna fight him, and here's how you're gonna fight him. As opposed to, I don't think there's a martial art that is specifically about running away and escaping. Like there are no strikes whatsoever. You're constantly just running, and if they catch you, then you're dead. Because that's where my mind is already at.
Yeah.
So if I just can hone in on that natural instinct and never get caught,
I saw this one video of like somebody teaching martial arts, and the lesson.
Oh no, sorry. Ben! Oh, everyone, sorry. Ben is dying. He's
oh my God.
Ben. Are you okay? Oh, he's back.
Run away from this sickness. No, it was the lesson was how to defend yourself against somebody wielding a knife. How to protect yourself against a knife attack. So he has this volunteer. He gives this volunteer, a knife or whatever, a big knife, and he's like, "Here's what you do." And then, so he's like, "Try to attack me." So the guy like starts going towards him, and the guy turns around and just runs out of the room.
Yeah,
that's how you defend yourself against a knife attack. You run away.
Also, a spear. That's the second one. A spear or a if you're a good shot, maybe a ranged weapon like a slingshot.
The Mythbusters actually did a what is faster to defend yourself with, a knife or a gun. And it was the way they had set up the experiment was that there was a Jamie was a certain amount away holding a knife. I mean, it was like a fake knife, and they all both had like protective suits and stuff. And Adam had like a holstered pistol.
Yeah.
And on go, Jamie ran towards Adam, who was just standing there, and Adam had to see if he can unholster the pistol, aim it, and fire before Jamie pegged him with the knife.
Yeah.
And what it turned out was he never was able to. The knife always won. So maybe it's not so bad bringing a knife to a gunfight.
Hey, think about that. R.I.P. R.I.P. Mr. Bond. Hey, speaking about Mr. Bond, I keep seeing ads about No Time to Die.
No Time to Die.
James Bond.
The last
Daniel Craig. Yeah. Which is, it's funny to me. I've talked to you about this before. The new Bond, whoever it's going to be, how James Bond is kind of like Doctor Who. Or I guess maybe Doctor Who is kind of like James Bond in a way that like, oh, the new one, and there's a new one and people don't like the new one. And then when it comes time for them to be done, they're like, oh, no one's going to be as good as this person who I didn't like when they first started.
Yeah. Although I would love to see the James Bond regeneration process.
That, oh my gosh, Ben,
Like Pierce Brosnan turning into Daniel Craig.
Has anyone done that?
I don't know.
Has anyone done that? Because if they haven't, oh my gosh, that's so funny, and it would be very popular. Yeah. I think. Oh my gosh. Oh, Ben, I love it so much. I just like thinking about it. That is so great, because you could totally do it now. There is enough happening with computer technology and video editing and all that you could absolutely make that happen.
Yeah.
Oh, so good. So good. Ben, I'm serious. You've cheered me up so much. I'm gonna be thinking about that for a while. Hey, did you watch Squid Game yet?
I have not seen Squid Game, but last week when Steven was with us, he was very interested to hear your opinions on it.
I really liked it. And here's something interesting. And I honestly don't think that this negates the idea of white privilege at all. But it's funny that right now there's a conversation about Critical Role, which is a Dungeons and Dragons podcast.
Yeah.
They're having their new season come up, and the cast does not have any people of color in it. And the suggestion that they have is that, well, it's just a group of friends. It's a group of friends who were playing Dungeons and Dragons, and it blew up, and now they're really popular, but they don't want to recast their friend group.
Right.
Their friends. So two things happened. One is that there was a Twitch leak, and they found out that Critical Role makes the equivalent almost of $3 million a year.
God damn.
Right. And somebody said, to put that in perspective, if you wanted to make $3 million, and let's say that you make $50,000 a year after all of your expenses. Yeah. So if you're just banking $50,000 a year, it would still take you 60 years to get that much money. So It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so sure, it started out as friends, but now they're a little bit more important. And
this is a podcast that makes $3 million a year.
A podcast where people play Dungeons and Dragons, Ben. That's what it is. It's an actual play podcast.
Was it the first one? What makes it so special?
Pretty much it was sort of the first one. And it will. Here's the thing also. The people who are in it are all professional voice actors, that kind of thing. So, but so really, there's
have been name recognition before the show started.
Right. There are also people that make a lot of money at Renaissance festivals, for example. That kind of stuff. There are markets for this sort of thing. But that's part of the reason why they're like, well, hey, they should maybe, if they're all about inclusivity and things like that, maybe they should do this. And the thing that people say when they talk about it is, why should they, mess up and cast people that they don't know? And the thing is, this is not, I want to point this out. This isn't Critical Role saying it. It's the Critical Role fandom who's saying it. They say, well, these were friends who started out playing. Why should they mess that up? And all that I'm thinking is that you're really coming on and defending the fact that they didn't have any non-white friends when they were playing the game. That's kind of what they're saying. And it doesn't sound as good as maybe people think it does in their heads. But this is the thing that I was going to say is that, the whole representation matters things. It would be nice to see someone who looks like me on this show. Maybe I would watch it then. And I was thinking about how, like, the Squid Game is, a largely Korean cast. There's one participant in it who's from Pakistan. There's some white folks that show up every once in a while, but when I'm watching the Squid Game, I have no problem like watching the show. I don't have a problem with identifying with the people in the show any more than I do with a white cast. And I was thinking that this is an aspect, I think anyway, of white privilege, because 90% of the shows that I see have white people in them.
Yeah.
So I can watch something that has no white people and go, oh, this is pretty cool. I like this guy and I do this and all that, because it's
novel.
It's a, well, sure, novel, yes, but also it's an option. I can always go back to all the other 90 whatever.
Right.
Now, there is an aspect that I know where The Greatest American Hero, for instance, I liked that show because there was a guy with curly hair on it.
Right.
And there weren't that many people with curly hair when I was growing up in shows that I was interested in watching. So I can sort of, but it's not the same thing at all. And I was talking to Jennifer about this the other day, and I could go from now until when I die, if every new show produced, every new film produced didn't have any white people in it whatsoever, I would still be able to watch a majority of popular entertainment that's out there from like other years and all that, and it wouldn't really make a dent necessarily in the chances of seeing a white person on screen.
Right.
Because of how much time.
Well, also, and I think earlier
white
today,
faces
Todd,
have dominated.
Earlier,
sorry, say again.
Also, what happened to us earlier today just illustrates, you are a considerably, well-versed individual, and don't hate other cultures.
I try not to.
Don't feel like your kind is dying out, which is getting represented in media that's pushing diversity down our throats.
Right, exactly. And
I mean, I at one point would not have thought that was a rare attribute to be accepting of other cultures, but right. I'm starting to think a little otherwise.
Well, here's an interesting thing. I was talking to Jennifer about this today too. I went to the University of Missouri Columbia.
That's why she never listens to the show anymore, because you just repeat everything.
Oh, this thing again. I went to the University of Columbia, University of Missouri at Columbia in 1991. That's when I first started attending there. And the theater department was run by a man named Clyde Ruffin. And Clyde Ruffin he was the head of the theater department, and he had basically two different theater departments. There was the theater department and there was the black theater department. This is 20 years ago. And he and I were on good terms. I mean, he's a, academic guy up here, and I'm just, me, an undergrad.
Yeah.
But I said, why are there two different departments? And he said, if we didn't have the black theater department, the actors in the black theater program would never get cast in anything if they were just in the white theater program. And he didn't say white theater program, he just said in the theater program. But that was kind of what it was. The black theater program had to exist because there was, at that point in time, like a play that was written by a white guy would have an all-white cast. It was just thought of as being the way it was supposed to be. So we're not that far from that mindset. And so in your, $3 million all-white cast show, saying that you have people of color who work behind the cameras doing other things doesn't really answer that question of, if you have this many people around the table, why is there not more representation?
It's also a little, that's a tricky situation I would not want to be in, because then if you then try to diversify your cast and you bring in one or two people of color, then other people just see that as tokenism.
Well, and this is the thing that I listen to a lot of people on TikTok talk about this, and by and large, the non-white creators who talk about this feel like tokenism and worrying about tokenism is mostly a white person pursuit. Like they're like, I say that I want to see more people that look like me on this show. And you say, well, I wouldn't want it to be tokenism. That's your problem. That's something that you're worried about. That's not what I'm worried about.
Right.
Now, granted, non-white creators in Dungeons and Dragons and TTRPG TikTok are not a monolith. They don't all agree on everything. And
No.
I'm not trying to imply that they do, but that is at least one of the criticisms of that kind of statement is that, the whole concept of tokenism comes from basically white people pushing back against affirmative action. Because the idea
I have not heard that angle.
Yeah, the idea of tokenism is that the person who is sitting at the table did not deserve their place at the table.
Yeah.
That they only got there because they fill some sort of a quota.
Right.
So the use of the term tokenism indicates that there's a disparity again between the person who is fulfilling the role and the talent level that one assumes the person needs to be in that role. And in this case, again, going back to the idea that they're all friends around the table, it goes back to the idea that no one at that table is as good of friends with a non-white person as they are with each other, which is not necessarily the flex that people think it is.
Right.
When they say it. And I use the term flex and probably used it wrong. And it doesn't matter at this point.
I wouldn't worry about it. If we just get a bunch of millennials or the generation after millennials, whatever they're called, if they start
I think, aren't they
chatting
alphas?
at us in the chat and how Paul used
no,
flex
Generation
wrong.
Y. Generation Y.
Gen Y?
Betty is in that. Is in Gen Y.
Didn't Gen Y come after Gen X? Haven't we already had a Gen Y?
I think it's Gen X, millennials, Gen Z. Gen Z, Ben. Gen Z. They're Gen Z. Sorry, yeah. Gen Y kind of became millennials. I think I've mentioned this before. I might have even mentioned this in the last podcast, that I think in a lot of ways, Gen X and millennials are actually sort of lumped together a little bit.
Yeah, we talked about this last week.
Because boomers are living so long.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them would be dead by now. Maybe. And some of them are. COVID is still happening, ladies and gentlemen. And
still a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, still a thing. I wore respirators given to me by Stephen McCandless, friend of the show, today.
Who actually texted the chat line and
Hey.
said he was trying to watch the stream. He feels like we're trying to hide. I told him it was a whole thing and sent him the link to the new stream. But,
yes.
I don't see him on. If you're here, Steven, say hello.
Yeah.
And then listen to the show when it comes out next Monday to find out why you couldn't find the old stream.
May you live in interesting times of
God.
your live stream.
Indeed.
Careful what you wish for, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
This is what we're saying.
Indeed.
Yeah, so
Wonder if I can just...
we have another
I think about 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
Yeah.
Betty! We'll see if Betty shows up. But yeah, it's great talking to you. Again, I am going to be giving or participating in a talk back after the documentary A Glitch in the Matrix, which I am featured prominently in.
Is there a way... You are featured prominently. Is there a way for people to watch this?
I don't believe so. I think it's just for people who are at this certain college.
Gotcha.
I'll mail out the Zoom link and people can join as a participant. No,
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. Maybe everyone who showed up to our podcast earlier will find and interact with. No, that will not happen. But it is kind of interesting, Ben, and I mentioned this a little bit, but on my 23andMe, my percentage of Judaism, Ashkenazi Judaism, is low. It is present, but it's low.
Yeah.
And yet I have received many, like, basically what I'm saying is white supremacists think that I am much more Jewish than some of the Orthodox Jewish community would think.
Which I mean,
Which is
I've known you for too long, but like I don't see it.
then that we can keep that in. But no.
I just don't understand. No, I'm not saying. I'm saying I don't understand. I don't understand why people immediately peg you as Jewish.
Sorry, now I'm thinking about people immediately pegging me, and it's not it's not the greatest. Yeah, I don't know. It surprised, and to be fair, we have talked about this. For people who are just listening to this, Ben and I have had this conversation off air a lot about, like, as an example, when I was in France, there was a British couple there. I was going to enter into this chapel to look at it, and one of them said to me, "You better not let your rabbi catch you going in there. You'll probably burst into flames." And at the time, I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's crazy. This is before I knew anything. See, I was adopted. I was raised by a Lutheran family, and I did not consider myself Jewish. So it's interesting that certain people who have an agenda put me into that category. I have to think.
Yeah.
Like Jennifer and I talked about this, and it's a little crazy. I don't know. Maybe we need a trigger warning on this one. I don't know. But that if I were subject to, the eugenics caliper tests and things like that the Nazis did on people, that I would not pass, that I would be put into the Jewish group because of some of my facial features and things of that nature. So, a very strange conversation to have with one's spouse, but it was still, I mean, I was the one who asked. So,
Yeah.
So that's something. Jennifer, as you know, knows a lot about a lot of things. So it's worth it. I don't know. I don't think Betty is coming.
All right.
But we might just continue on.
Yeah.
But yeah, they brought it up. That's what I'll say, is that those folks brought it up. So it's not like, it's not like it's something that shouldn't be talked about, I think. But yeah, maybe there's something like, if this makes sense, if you are anti-Semitic, maybe it's similar to the idea of you've got some nunchucks and you want to hit a bad guy. You're like a 13-year-old kid. You got nunchucks, and you yourself don't think of yourself as a bad person. You think of yourself as a superhero, and you want to fight a bad guy. So you go around looking for bad guys, and that eventually you will find someone that you think, okay, well, this works as a bad guy. So you're hyper vigilant for anyone that looks like they might be committing a crime. In the same way, if you want to hate a Jewish person, maybe every person that you're looking at, you're like, okay, what about that guy?
Yeah, it's like if that saying, if your only tool is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail.
Yeah. The one thing is that, of course, there's the Dave Chappelle thing where he plays the blind Klansman. And sometimes when I look back at the situations in my life, like again, there was a time when I was at school, in college, and this one girl that I was trying to date had a supremely racist roommate. Okay. I think I talked about this, and she kept on, every time that I was over there, she would talk about Jews and how much she didn't like them. And I was like, it's weird. Every time I go over there, she talks about how much she doesn't like Jews. And eventually, one of the people in my friend group goes, she thinks you're Jewish. And I was like, what?
And obviously just
Why?
didn't like you and wanted you to leave.
Yeah. And of course, now this might be the autistic thing. I did not pick up on that at all. That was not, it. And also by virtue of my upbringing, I did not have any sensitivity to that.
Yeah.
Like, this is not something that is being said about me. I did not agree with it, and I eventually stopped going over there. So in a way, I guess she defended her roommate from me. But
Who knows?
yeah, that was tough. That was a tough thing when eventually, a long time afterwards, I was like, oh, that's what was going on, because then she wasn't around for me to,
Yeah.
say. And what would I have said? That's the other thing. I don't know what I would have said at that time.
Nothing to do in that case but leave. I mean,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
person,
You
that person's
delete-
issues weren't your issues.
You delete the live stream link.
You delete the live
and
stream.
you stop talking to them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly.
You-
Did Steven ever find us?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I sent him the link to the show, but I don't think he followed it. So, Steven, sorry you
Okay.
missed this one. We'll be back next week at our regular time.
So you know what I'm going to do, Ben?
What are you gonna do, Paul?
I'm going to find the break, and I'm going to delete it before I send you the audio file,
Okay, that sounds good.
so that you have it, and just doing my small part, my little tiny part of working on engineering the show. It's the least I could do. And I mean, it
Indeed.
really is the least I can do. And it's all I'm doing. So I feel all
At
right
least
about it.
you do the very least.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
But wow, what a crazy show.
What a day, man! What a day!
Now we know that we enjoy having zero engagement. Zero engagement is just fine.
Indeed, I prefer it that way.
Yeah. All right. So we have about 4 minutes left. No, 3 minutes left.
I
guess.
have 1 minute on the clock.
Oh, really?
I can't remember when it was when I finally started the new link, or
I'll tell you what. Let's go to.
actually-
right. Yeah. Okay. Go
4:15. So we're actually over by about 4 minutes right now.
All right. Well, that's great then. Let's just go with that. Hey, Ben.
Paul,
Do me a favor. Between now and the next time we speak, can you please keep it wrong?
I want you to keep it wrong, but in a thoughtful and mindful manner.
I believe I shall.